The weapons instructor slammed his 4 fists on the demonstration table, making every cadet in the room jump. Halvin had taught combat techniques for 30 years across 12 different species, and he knew what worked and what did not. Right now he was explaining why dual-wielding was pure fantasy. "Listen carefully," Halvin said, his voice echoing through the training hall. "I have seen warriors try this foolish technique from every corner of the galaxy. They all fail. Do you know why?" Nobody answered. The cadets at Havro 7 Combat Academy knew better than to interrupt Halvin when he was making a point. "Your brain cannot handle it," Halvin continued. He picked up 2 training pistols and held them awkwardly in his upper pair of hands. To dual-wield means your mind must track 2 separate targets, control 2 separate weapons, and make 2 separate decisions at the exact same moment. "Even I cannot do this, and I have 4 arms." He tossed the pistols back onto the table with a clatter. "Every species in this room has tried. The Quentari have 4 arms but only 1 focus center in our brains. The Thorians have incredible reflexes but cannot split their attention. The Veskari have compound eyes but their motor control is linked. Biology does not allow dual-wielding. It is that simple." Ryan Cole sat near the back of the hall, listening quietly. He had joined the Academy 3 weeks ago, when Earth finally gained membership in the Galactic Council. The other human cadets were scattered throughout the room, maybe 15 of them total among the 200 aliens learning combat techniques. "What about humans?" a voice called out. It was Brix, a tall Quentari cadet who seemed to enjoy making trouble. "I heard humans think they are special warriors." Several aliens laughed. Ryan did not react. He had learned quickly that humans had a reputation problem in the galaxy. Earth was poor compared to most worlds. Human technology was centuries behind, and their military experience was limited to fighting each other. "Not exactly impressive. Humans are adequate soldiers," Halvin said diplomatically. "They learn quickly and follow orders. But they have the same limitations as everyone else. 2 arms, 1 brain, 1 focus point. They can barely walk upright without tripping," Brix added, getting more laughs. "I bet a human could not hit a target with 1 weapon, let alone 2. Ryan felt every human in the room tense up. That was the line. You could mock human technology or human ships or human anything else, but you did not mock their ability to fight. That was earned through thousands of years of warfare, and it meant something. Halvin noticed the shift in mood. "Cadet Brix, that is enough. We are here to learn, not to insult fellow students." "I am just stating facts, instructor," Brix said with a grin. "Humans are not warrior material. Everyone knows this." Ryan stood up slowly. The movement made several cadets turn to look at him. He was not the biggest human in the room or the most intimidating. Average height, lean build with the kind of calm expression that came from being in bad situations before. "You want to bet on that?" Ryan asked quietly. The room went silent. Even Halvin stopped moving. Brix turned fully around to face Ryan. "What did you say, human?" "I said, you want to bet?" Ryan walked down the steps between the seats until he reached the training floor. "You think humans cannot fight? Cannot handle weapons? Let me show you something." Halvin held up 1 hand. "Cadet Cole, this is not necessary. Ignore the provocation." "With respect, instructor, I think it is necessary," Ryan said. He looked directly at Brix. "You said I could not hit a target with 1 weapon. What if I used 2? The laughing started immediately. Aliens from a dozen different species found this hilarious. A human, the newest and weakest member of the galactic community, was claiming he could dual-wield. It was like watching someone claim they could fly without wings. Brix was laughing so hard his forearms were shaking. "You dual-wield? Human? I just watched the instructor explain why that is impossible. Are you stupid as well as weak?" Ryan smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Bet I can." Halvin looked between Ryan and Brix, then sighed the way teachers do when they know the lesson plan just got thrown away. "Very well. If Cadet Cole wishes to demonstrate the futility of dual-wielding, perhaps it will serve as a practical lesson for the entire class." He walked to the weapons rack and selected 2 standard training pistols. They were plasma-based, firing energy bolts that would register hits without causing injury. Simple point-and-shoot weapons that even beginners could handle. "The dual target course," Halvin announced. 2 separate simulations that must be engaged simultaneously. No cadet has ever passed this test because it requires engaging 2 different targets at the same time. "Cadet Cole, are you certain you wish to attempt this?" Ryan took the 2 pistols, 1 in each hand. They felt good. Balanced. He had been shooting since he was 12 years old back on Earth. pistols, rifles, shotguns, whatever was available. His father had taught him that humans were tool users, and weapons were just another kind of tool. "I am certain," Ryan said. The other cadets were gathering around now, word spreading that a human was about to embarrass himself. Even the other humans looked worried. Nobody wanted to see their species humiliated in front of the entire academy. Halvin activated the combat simulation. 2 holographic enemies appeared at opposite ends of the training floor, both moving in random patterns. The test was simple in theory but impossible in practice. Shoot both targets at the same time while they moved. "Begin," Halvin said. Ryan did not think about it. Thinking was too slow. He just let his body do what it had done 1,000 times before. His right hand tracked the target on the right. His left hand tracked the target on the left. 2 different movements, 2 different aims, 2 different triggers. Both pistols fired. Both targets registered hits. The room was completely silent. Ryan continued firing. Right hand, left, each weapon tracking its own target independently. His eyes moved between both enemies, his brain processing 2 separate threat assessments simultaneously. His hands responding to different commands. It looked effortless. 30 seconds later, both targets were eliminated. Perfect score. 0 misses. Ryan lowered the pistols and looked at Halvin. "Like I said, bet I can." 3 hours after Ryan embarrassed Bricks in front of 200 cadets, he found himself in the medical wing answering questions he did not fully understand. Dr. Elena kept running her scanning equipment over his head while muttering in her native language. She was a Viscari, which meant she had 6 eyes and could probably see things about human biology that Ryan really did not want to know. "Explain it again," she said, adjusting some controls on her scanner. "When you fired both weapons, what were you thinking about?" "Both targets," Ryan said simply. "Right target with my right hand, left target with my left hand. But how did you track them separately?" Elena's equipment beeped rapidly. "Your eyes can only focus on one point at a time. That is basic biology." Ryan shrugged. "I switched between them, fast. My hands kept moving while my eyes checked both positions. Impossible. The neural delay alone would make accurate fire impossible. Yet you achieved perfect scores on both targets." She made a frustrated clicking sound. Human biology makes no sense. Word had spread fast through the academy. By dinner time, every cadet knew that a human had done something that was supposed to be biologically impossible. Some thought it was a trick. Others thought the simulation was broken. A few believed that maybe, just maybe, humans were different in ways nobody had expected. Ryan was eating in the cafeteria when Beth found him. She was another human cadet, trained as a sniper back on Earth before joining the Galactic Academy. She dropped her tray next to his and sat down without asking. "So you really did it?" she asked. "Did what? Do not play dumb. Everyone is talking about it." "You dual-wielded. Actually dual-wielded." She leaned forward.
"How? I just shot 2 targets."
"It is not that complicated." Beth stared at him. "Ryan, I watched the security footage. Everyone did. You were tracking both targets independently. Your left hand was moving completely different from your right hand. That should not be possible." "Why not?" "Because..." Beth stopped. "Actually, I do not know why not. We do it all the time back home." That made Ryan pause. "What do you mean?" "Think about it. Driving a car while talking, typing on a computer while reading a screen, cooking with one hand while stirring with the other. Humans do multiple things at once all the time." Beth grabbed her fork and knife, one in each hand, and started cutting her food while looking at Ryan. "I am cutting food with my right hand and holding it steady with my left. 2 completely different motions. 2 different tasks. Same time." Ryan looked down at his own hands. She was right. Humans did this constantly without thinking about it. It was just normal. "Maybe that is why other species cannot dual-wield," Beth continued. "They do not multitask like we do. Their brains are not built for it." Before Ryan could respond, Instructor Halvin appeared at their table. He was not alone. Behind him stood Admiral Torvis, the highest-ranking officer at the Academy, along with 2 other instructors Ryan did not recognize. "Cadet Cole," Halvin said formally. "The Admiral wishes to speak with you." Ryan stood up quickly. "You did not keep admirals waiting." "Yes, sir." Torvis was a massive Thorian, easily 8 feet tall with thick armor plating covering his body. He looked like he could walk through a wall without noticing. When he spoke, his voice rumbled like distant thunder. I watched your demonstration today, Torva said. Dr. Elena tells me she cannot explain how you did it. She says human neural structure is different from anything else in the galaxy. I do not know about neural structure, sir, Ryan said honestly. I just know how to shoot. Can other humans do this? Dual-wield like you did? Ryan glanced at Beth. Probably. We all grew up using both hands independently. It is pretty normal for us. Show me, Torva said. It was not a request. 20 minutes later, Ryan was back in the combat simulation room. This time Beth was with him, along with 3 other human cadets Torvis had pulled from their evening classes. Carlos, Dimitri, and Hannah stood in line while technicians set up multiple dual-target courses. Same test Cadet Cole completed earlier, Halvin explained to the new arrivals. 2 targets must engage both simultaneously. Take your time and do not feel pressured to— We got it, Carlos interrupted. He was grinning. 2 guns, 2 targets, easy. Halvin looked like he wanted to argue about respect and proper procedure, but Torvis waved him silent. Begin the test. All 4 humans picked up dual pistols and stepped into their simulation zones. The targets appeared. The test started. Every single human passed. Not all of them were as smooth as Ryan. Hannah struggled a bit with her left-hand accuracy. Dimitri was slow-switching targets, but all of them could track and engage 2 separate enemies at the same time using 2 separate weapons. The watching aliens were stunned into silence. Remarkable, Torvis said quietly. Dr. Elena, what is your analysis? The doctor was reviewing data on her tablet, all 6 eyes moving independently as she scanned different screens. Preliminary scans show humans have an unusually developed corpus callosum. That is the structure connecting the 2 brain hemispheres. Their left and right sides communicate faster and more efficiently than any species I have studied. In simple terms, Doctor, Torvis said, humans can think with both sides of their brain at once. Really think. Not just coordinate, but actually process 2 separate tasks simultaneously. It explains their unusual ability to multitask. Elena looked up from her tablet. Admiral, humans are bilateral in ways we never imagined. They are not just ambidextrous with their hands. Their entire brain works in parallel. Torvis turned to watch the humans, who were now comparing scores and arguing about who did better. They looked so normal. 2 arms, 2 legs, average height. No special armor or abilities. Nothing about them screamed dangerous or unique. But they could do something no other species could do. Instructor Halvin, Torvis said, I want every human cadet at this academy tested for dual-wielding capability within the next 2 days. Contact Earth and request any military records on this phenomenon. I need to know if this is universal among humans or limited to trained soldiers. Yes, sir, Halvin said. May I ask why this is so important? Torvis was quiet for a moment, watching Ryan teach Hannah how to improve her left-hand aim. Because if humans can dual-wield as naturally as they claim, it changes everything. Every combat doctrine in the galaxy assumes 1 weapon per soldier. Every tactical formation, every defensive strategy, all of it is based on the idea that each warrior can only engage 1 target at a time. He turned to face Halvin directly. If humans can engage 2 targets simultaneously, they are not just soldiers. They are force multipliers. 1 human becomes 2 fighters. A squad of 10 becomes 20. Do you understand what that means? Halvin's 4 eyes widened. It means humans are far more dangerous than anyone realized. Exactly, Torvis said. And I suspect the rest of the galaxy is about to learn that lesson the hard way. News traveled fast in the galactic community, especially when it involved humans doing something unexpected. Within a week, every major military installation had received reports about the dual-wielding demonstrations at Havro 7. Some commanders dismissed it as exaggeration. Others requested verification. A few started quietly reviewing human personnel files with renewed interest. Ryan found himself at the center of attention he never wanted. Cadets from other species kept asking him to demonstrate dual-wielding in their combat classes. Scientists wanted to study his brain patterns. Military analysts wanted to understand tactical applications. It was exhausting. The breaking point came during an advanced combat course. Ryan was paired with Brix for a simulation exercise which seemed like someone's idea of a cruel joke. They were supposed to work together to clear a hostile facility of enemy combatants. Brix made his feelings clear from the start. I do not need a human watching my back. Stay out of my way. Sure, Ryan said. No point arguing. The simulation began. Enemy targets appeared throughout a mock building layout, requiring careful room-to-room clearing. Brix charged in using standard Quintari tactics, overwhelming firepower from his single heavy rifle. It worked fine until he got pinned down by 3 targets in a corridor. Ryan moved up on the opposite side, pistols in both hands. He engaged the 2 targets on the left, while Brix handled the one on the right. The enemies went down in seconds. I had that under control, Brix snapped. I know. I was just helping. They continued through the simulation. Every time Brix engaged a target, Ryan covered a different angle. When enemies appeared from multiple directions, Ryan handled half of them while Brix focused on his sector. It was efficient, natural, the kind of teamwork that should have made the exercise easy. Brix hated every second of it. When the simulation ended with a high score, Brix threw down his rifle. This is unfair. You are using 2 weapons. I only have 1. Of course we did well. You have 4 arms, Ryan pointed out. You could use 2 weapons. I cannot dual wield. Nobody can except humans? Brix's voice was bitter. You should be restricted to 1 weapon like everyone else. This gives you an unfair advantage. Ryan opened his mouth to respond but stopped when he realized other cadets were nodding in agreement. Not all of them, but enough to notice. The resentment was building. Humans were too new to the galaxy, too poor and weak and backward to suddenly have a combat advantage over established warrior species. Instructor Halvin ended the argument before it escalated. Dismissed. All of you. Later that day, Ryan was summoned to Admiral Torvis's office. When he arrived, he found the Admiral in a meeting with 3 other humans, Beth, Carlos, and a woman Ryan did not recognize. She wore Earth military insignia marking her as a colonel. Cadet Cole, Torvis said. This is Colonel Pierce from Earth's Defense Forces. She arrived this morning with interesting information about human military history. Colonel Pierce nodded to Ryan. Son, the Admiral tells me you have been demonstrating dual-wielding capabilities. I need you to understand something. This is not new. Humans have been dual-wielding weapons for thousands of years. She activated a holographic display showing images from Earth history. Ancient warriors with 2 swords. Gunslingers with 2 revolvers. Modern soldiers with 2 pistols. The examples went on and on. Every human culture developed dual-wielding techniques independently, Pierce continued. We thought it was normal. We did not realize other species could not do it until we met the galactic community. Why did Earth not mention this before? Torvis asked. Because we did not think it mattered, Pierce said bluntly. Our military focused on learning galactic technology and tactics. We were trying to catch up, not show off ancient human techniques that we assumed everyone else already knew. She changed the display to show training footage from Earth military facilities. Soldiers dual-wielding pistols, submachine guns, even rifles in some cases. The techniques were refined and professional, taught as standard combat skills. How many humans can dual-wield? Torvis asked quietly. All of them with training, Pierce said. Some are naturally better than others, but the baseline capability is universal. Our brains are wired for it. Has been since our ancestors needed to use tools with both hands while watching for predators. The room went quiet as everyone absorbed that information. Ryan watched Torvis process the implications. A species where every soldier could effectively engage 2 targets simultaneously. Not just an elite few, everyone. I want to establish a training program, Torvis said finally. Humans will teach dual-wielding tactics to human personnel across the galactic military. We need to develop doctrine for this capability before someone else does. Someone else? Pierce asked. The Krell Dominion monitors our military developments closely. If they learn about human dual-wielding before we have proper tactical integration, they will develop countermeasures. Torvis stood up, his massive frame towering over everyone. Cadet Colt, you are reassigned effective immediately. You will select a team of 5 additional humans and begin developing dual-wielding combat techniques for military application. Ryan blinked. Sir, I am just a cadet. I am not qualified to develop military doctrine. You are qualified to shoot 2 weapons at once, which makes you more qualified than anyone else in this room. Torvis said flatly. Colonel Pierce will provide support and resources. Instructor Halvin will assign you training facilities. Get started. 2 days later, Ryan stood in a private training facility with 5 other humans. Beth was there, along with Carlos and Dimitri from the earlier demonstrations. He had also recruited Hannah and Omar, another human cadet with extensive combat experience. Okay, Ryan said, feeling completely out of his depth. The Admiral wants us to develop new fighting techniques using dual wielding. So, let us figure out what that means. We should start with basics, Beth suggested. What can we do with two weapons that other species cannot do with one? Carlos grabbed two training rifles. Suppression fire while advancing. One weapon keeps the enemy pinned down while the other aims for accurate shots. Engaging multiple targets, Dimitri added. If we get ambushed from two directions, we do not have to choose which threat to handle first. Weapon diversity, Hannah said thoughtfully. One weapon for range, one for close combat. Switch between them as needed without dropping either. Omar was already practicing something complex, using a shield in one hand while firing a pistol with the other. Defense and offense simultaneously. Other species have to choose one or the other. Ryan watched them work through ideas, and something clicked in his mind. Humans did not just dual-wield weapons, they dual-wielded concepts. Defense and offense, precision and suppression, range and close combat. They could hold multiple tactical options at the same time and switch between them instantly. We are not just soldiers with two guns, Ryan said slowly. We are soldiers who can be two types of fighters at once. Beth lowered her weapons and looked at him. That is actually terrifying. Yeah, Ryan agreed. The Admiral is right. We need to figure this out before the rest of the galaxy does. 6 weeks of training changed everything Ryan thought he knew about combat. What started as simple dual-wielding practice evolved into something far more complex. His team discovered that humans could do things that seemed almost supernatural to other species, not because they were stronger or faster, but because their brains worked differently. Omar perfected a technique he called asymmetric engagement, where he used a long-range rifle in one hand for distant targets while keeping a shotgun ready in the other hand for anything that got close. The two weapons required completely different aiming styles, different timing, different tactics. He made it look easy. Hannah developed cascade firing where she alternated shots from each weapon in rapid succession, creating continuous fire without reload gaps. While one pistol recharged, the other was firing. The effect was like having one weapon with infinite ammunition. Dimitri specialized in dual-threat positioning, where he could advance down a corridor while covering two different angles simultaneously. Enemies could not ambush him because he was already aiming at both possible entry points before they appeared. Carlos and Beth worked together on team tactics, showing how two human dual-wielders could control an entire room by each handling opposite sides. 4 weapons, 2 humans, complete battlefield coverage. Ryan focused on integration, combining melee and ranged weapons, knife in one hand, pistol in the other, close combat and distance engagement at the same time. It required different parts of his brain to work in different combat modes simultaneously, but after weeks of practice, it became natural. Word of their progress reached beyond the Academy. The Galactic Defense Fleet took notice. Military analysts from a dozen species arrived to observe training sessions. Most left looking disturbed. One Thorian general watched Omar engage 12 targets in 30 seconds using his rifle-shotgun combination and said, "This is not fair. He is one soldier doing the work of 3. Colonel Pierce, who had stayed on as their advisor, smiled. That is kind of the point, General. The political implications were becoming clear. Human mercenaries were suddenly in high demand. Human security contractors were charging triple rates. Earth's military was fielding recruitment offers from galactic powers who previously would not have returned their calls. But not everyone was happy about it. The Krell Dominion sent an official diplomatic message to the Galactic Council, claiming human dual-wielding gave Earth an unfair military advantage and should be regulated. They proposed rules limiting humans to single weapons in official galactic conflicts. The Council rejected the proposal, but the message was clear. The Krell were worried. They should be, Admiral Torvis said during a briefing with Ryan's team. The Krell have been the dominant military power in this sector for 200 years. They built their entire strategic doctrine on superior numbers and firepower. Now humans appear, and suddenly one human soldier has the combat effectiveness of 2 Krell warriors. Are we really that much better? Ryan asked. In small unit tactics? Yes, Torvis pulled up tactical simulations. Our war games show that a mixed team of humans and other species outperforms pure non-human teams by 40% in close quarters combat. Humans cover angles and threats that other soldiers cannot handle simultaneously. He changed the display to show border territories. This is Haven's Rest, a colony on the edge of Krell space. Intelligence suggests the Krell are planning something there. If they attack, it will be to test our response and demonstrate that human dual-wielding is not as effective as we claim. You want us to be there when they attack, Beth said. I want you to be the response force, Torvis corrected. Fast deployment. Urban combat. Exactly the scenario where dual-wielding provides maximum advantage. He looked at each of them. This will not be a simulation. Real enemies. Real weapons. Real consequences. The team exchanged glances. 6 weeks ago, they were cadets learning basic tactics. Now they were being deployed to a potential war zone. We are ready, Ryan said, hoping it was true. They shipped out 3 days later on a fast military transport. Haven's Rest was a mining colony. Population 40,000. Mostly civilians extracting rare minerals from the local asteroid field. The colony had minimal military presence. 200 Defense Force personnel with light weapons. Ryan's team integrated with the local command structure and ran drills with the colony defenders. The local troops were professional but clearly skeptical about the humans. They had heard the stories but had not seen dual-wielding in action. Lieutenant Davis, the colony's defense commander, watched them practice and shook his head. I still do not understand how you track both weapons at once. Same way you walk and talk at the same time, Carlos said. You just do it. Walking and talking do not involve shooting at people trying to kill me. True, Carlos admitted. But the brain mechanics are the same. Parallel processing. Humans are good at it. Davis did not look convinced, but he stopped arguing. The humans were there on Admiral Torvis's orders, and you did not question admirals. 2 weeks passed quietly. Then the alarms went off at 0300 hours. Ryan was awake instantly, years of military training kicking in. His communicator crackled with Lieutenant Davis's voice. All personnel, this is not a drill. Krell forces are landing at the colony's central hub. Unknown numbers. Heavy weapons confirmed. Response teams deploy immediately. Ryan grabbed his gear. Dual pistols on his thighs. Combat knife on his chest. Light armor and ammunition. The rest of his team was already gearing up in synchronized silence. This is it, Beth said quietly. Yeah, Ryan agreed. Let us show the Krell why dual-wielding matters. They moved out into the colony's corridors. Emergency lighting made everything red and shadowy. Civilian evacuation was underway, families running past them toward the shelter zones. In the distance, they could hear weapons fire. The team reached the central hub and found chaos. Krell shock troops were advancing through the main concourse, their heavy armor and weapons tearing through the colony's light defenses. They were big, armored, confident. They had done this before, but they had never fought dual-wielding humans before. Ryan's team spread into their practiced formations. Each human covered a different sector, weapons ready. The Krell saw them and adjusted their advance. 6 enemies against 6 humans. Even odds, except humans could engage 12 targets to the Krell's 6. Engage, Ryan said calmly. Both his pistols came up. Right hand tracked the left target. Left hand tracked the right target. He fired. 2 Krell went down. Next to him, Beth and Carlos opened fire with their cascading technique, creating a wall of continuous plasma that forced the Krell to take cover. While the enemies were pinned, Omar used his rifle to pick off targets from range. Hannah and Dimitri advanced from opposite sides, each covering different angles as they moved. The Krell formation collapsed. They were trained to fight enemies who could only focus on one target at a time. They had tactics for that. Doctrines. Countermeasures. None of it worked against humans who could shoot 2 directions simultaneously. In 90 seconds, all 6 Krell soldiers were down. Ryan moved forward to check them. Central hub secure. Enemy neutralized. Lieutenant Davis's voice came back, filled with disbelief. Say again? You engaged 6 Krell shock troops and won. Affirmative. No friendly casualties. Ryan looked at his team. Everyone was checking their weapons and scanning for additional threats. Calm and professional. Proceeding to next objective. Copy that, Davis said, and Ryan could hear the smile in his voice. Welcome to the war, humans. Smoke filled the corridors as Ryan's team pushed deeper into the colony. The Krell had not expected serious resistance, which meant they were now desperately trying to adapt to an enemy they did not understand. Every time they tried to advance, humans appeared from unexpected angles with weapons firing from two directions at once. Next sector, medical wing, Beth reported, checking her tactical display. Krell are holding 20 civilians hostage. They are using them as shields. Ryan felt his jaw tighten. That was a coward's tactic, but effective. The colony defenders could not risk civilian casualties, which gave the Krell a strong position. How many hostiles? He asked. 4 visible, possibly more inside. Beth enhanced the scanner image. They are positioned behind the civilians in the main medical bay. Standard defensive formation. Standard for them, maybe. Ryan signaled the team to stop. Carlos, Omar, set up suppression positions. Hannah, Dimitri, you are with me on entry. Beth, find a high angle and watch for surprises. They moved into position around the medical wing entrance. Through the transparent doors, Ryan could see the hostages. Doctors, nurses, patients still in medical gowns. The Krell held them in the center of the room while covering the exits with their heavy rifles. Lieutenant Davis's voice came through on the command channel. Cole, I have reinforcements ready to assist. Just say the word. Negative, Lieutenant. More soldiers mean more targets for the Krell. We handle this quiet and precise. Ryan studied the layout. We need to take all 4 Krell simultaneously. If even one gets nervous, civilians die. 4 targets at once is impossible, Davis said. You need at least 4 soldiers for that. We have 6, Ryan reminded him. And we can engage multiple targets each. He could hear Davis trying to process that math. 6 humans who could dual-wield meant 12 potential targets could be engaged at the same time. More than enough for 4 Krell. On my mark, Ryan said to his team. Precision shots only. Aim for the gaps in their armor. The team synchronized their breathing. In combat, timing was everything. Against regular enemies, you could fire when ready. Against enemies holding hostages, everyone had to fire in the same instant, or the mission failed. Ryan counted down in his mind, watching the Krell positions. 3, 2, 1. Mark. The doors burst open. Ryan went through first with both pistols raised, immediately acquiring 2 targets. His right hand locked onto the Krell on the left side. His left hand found the one on the right. He fired both weapons simultaneously. Behind him, Hannah and Dimitri each engaged a different Krell. Beth's precision shot came from an overhead vent she had accessed. 4 Krell went down before they could react. The hostages screamed and scattered. Ryan's team moved through them quickly, checking for additional threats while medical staff helped evacuate the patients. Clear, Omar called out. No additional hostiles. Medical wing secure, Ryan reported. All hostages safe. 4 hostiles neutralized. There was a long pause on the command channel before Davis responded. You just took out 4 armed enemies holding hostages in a fortified position, without a single civilian casualty, in under 5 seconds. Yes, sir. Humans are terrifying. Yes, sir. Ryan agreed. They continued through the colony, methodically clearing each section. The Krell tried different tactics. Ambushes from side corridors, suppression fire from fortified positions, coordinated attacks from multiple directions. Nothing worked. Every time they thought they pinned down a human, a second weapon appeared from an unexpected angle. Every time they focused fire on one target, the human engaged them from 2 positions simultaneously. It was like fighting shadows that shot back. The breakthrough came in the colony's main power station. A full Krell squad had taken the facility, 12 soldiers in heavy armor controlling the colony's energy grid. If they destroyed the generators, the entire colony would lose life support. Ryan's team approached from 3 different access points. The Krell had defensive positions covering all the obvious approaches, which meant attacking from those directions would be suicide. We need to hit them from 12 different angles at once, Omar said, studying the layout. Spread their attention so thin they cannot respond effectively. We are 6 soldiers, Hannah pointed out. How do we attack from 12 angles? Ryan looked at his team and realized the answer. Because each of us can engage from 2 angles. We do not attack as 6 people. We attack as 12 weapons. They split up, each human taking a different approach vector. When they were in position, Ryan gave the signal. 6 humans entered the power station from 6 different directions. Each human immediately engaged 2 different targets using dual weapons. The effect was like being attacked by 12 soldiers simultaneously from impossible angles. The Krell tried to respond, but their training failed them. They were taught to identify threats, prioritize targets, return fire in coordinated patterns. All of that assumed each enemy could only attack from one direction at a time. Humans did not follow that rule. Ryan came through a side maintenance tunnel, his right pistol engaging a Krell on the upper platform, while his left pistol targeted one near the generators. Both fell. He kept moving, switching targets without breaking stride. Beth used her cascade firing technique to pin down 3 Krell while simultaneously using her second weapon to cover her own advance. They could not focus on her because she was shooting from 2 directions at once. Carlos and Dimitri performed a devastating coordinated attack, each covering the other's blind spots with their second weapons, while their primary weapons advanced the assault. It was teamwork multiplied by dual wielding, creating a tactical advantage that seemed impossible. The Krell broke. These were elite soldiers who had fought dozens of species across the galaxy, but they had never encountered an enemy like this. They retreated in disorder, leaving their wounded behind. Power station secure, Ryan reported. All generators intact. Lieutenant Davis's response was almost reverent. I am watching the tactical footage. What you just did should not be possible. It is possible if you are human, Ryan said simply. The rest of the Krell forces evacuated the colony within the hour. Their attack had failed completely. A small human team had defeated a force 3 times their size using tactics the Krell did not know how to counter. Back in the command center, Lieutenant Davis assembled his officers to watch the combat recordings. Every Defense Force member wanted to see how 6 humans had defeated an entire Krell assault force. Look at this moment, Davis said, pausing the footage on Ryan engaging 2 targets simultaneously. He is not switching between weapons. He is firing both at the same time at different enemies. His brain is processing 2 separate combat decisions in the same instant. That is the human advantage, Colonel Pierce said. She had arrived on a support ship during the battle. Every other species in the galaxy thinks linearly. 1 target, 1 decision, 1 action. Humans think in parallel. Multiple targets, multiple decisions, multiple actions all at once. The Krell are going to report this, one of the officers said nervously. They are going to tell everyone that humans can dual wield. Good, Pierce said. Let them tell everyone. Let every hostile force in the galaxy know that humans fight differently. That when you engage 1 human soldier, you are really fighting 2. See how eager they are to start conflicts with Earth after that. Ryan stood with his team watching the reactions. They had proven something today that went beyond tactics or weapons. They had proven that humans brought something unique to galactic warfare. Something that could not be copied or countered easily. What now? Beth asked quietly. Ryan thought about all the combat simulations they had run at the Academy, all the skepticism from other species, all the assumptions about humans being weak or inferior. Now we teach the rest of the galaxy what dual-wielding really means, he said. The battle at Haven's Rest changed galactic politics overnight. Within days, footage of human dual-wielders defeating Krell shock troops spread across every military network in known space. Some species called it propaganda. Others called it impossible. Everyone wanted to know if it was real. Admiral Torvis made sure they got their answer. He authorized the release of unedited combat recordings, complete with tactical analysis and neural scan data. The evidence was undeniable. Humans could dual-wield, and it gave them a massive advantage in close-quarters combat. The Krell Dominion responded by closing their borders and initiating a full military review. Intelligence reports suggested they were desperately trying to develop counter-tactics for human dual-wielding. So far, nothing worked. Ryan stood in front of 200 new recruits at the newly established dual-wield combat school. The facility had been built in 3 months, funded by a dozen allied governments who wanted their human troops trained in advanced techniques. The demand was overwhelming. Most of you already know how to shoot, Ryan began, walking along the line of students. You have done basic weapons training. You can hit targets. You can follow orders. That is good, but it is not enough. He drew both his pistols in one smooth motion, holding them ready. Dual wielding is not just about using 2 weapons. It is about thinking in 2 directions at once. It is about making your brain do what other species cannot do. A hand went up. Young recruit fresh from Earth looked nervous. Sir, what if we are not good at multitasking? Some people are better at focusing on one thing. Good question. Ryan holstered his weapons. Everyone in this room can multitask. You do it every day without thinking about it. You walk while talking. You eat while reading. You listen to music while working. Your brain is already trained for parallel processing. We just need to apply that to combat. He activated a training hologram showing enemy positions. When you engage two targets with dual weapons, you are not dividing your attention. You are expanding it. Your right brain handles the right weapon. Your left brain handles the left weapon. They work together but independently. The recruits looked skeptical. Ryan understood. He had been skeptical too before Dr. Elena explained the neural science behind it. "Let me show you something," he said. "Everyone stand up. Right hand, point at that wall. Left hand, point at the opposite wall." The recruits followed instructions, arms extended in different directions. "Now move both hands in circles. Opposite directions. Right hand clockwise, left hand counterclockwise." There was fumbling and confusion at first, but within seconds everyone managed it. 2 hands, 2 different movements, 2 simultaneous actions. "That is dual wielding," Ryan said. "You just did it. Now we practice until shooting 2 weapons feels as natural as moving 2 hands." The training program expanded rapidly. Beth taught precision dual wielding for snipers and marksmen. Carlos specialized in aggressive assault techniques. Omar focused on asymmetric weapon combinations. Hannah developed cascade firing drills. Dimitri trained students in defensive dual wielding for security and protection roles. Within 6 months, the school graduated its first full class. Within a year, every human military unit in the Galactic Defense Forces had at least a squad of trained dual wielders. The impact on galactic military doctrine was revolutionary. Mixed species units started forming around human dual wielders as force multipliers. A standard patrol might have 10 soldiers, 8 non-humans with single weapons and 2 humans with dual weapons. The humans covered angles and threats the others could not handle, creating a defensive bubble around the entire team. Urban combat tactics were rewritten to account for human capabilities. Building clearance procedures changed. Hostage rescue protocols adapted. Even space station defense got updated. The political changes were just as significant. Earth went from being a minor power to a crucial military ally overnight. Human mercenaries commanded premium rates. Human security contractors protected high-value targets across the galaxy. Nations that had ignored Earth for decades suddenly wanted military partnerships. Not everyone was happy about it. Some species saw human dual-wielding as an unfair biological advantage. There were protests, political debates, even a few incidents where human soldiers were refused entry to certain facilities. Ryan addressed those concerns during a lecture at the Academy, with representatives from 50 different species in attendance. "I understand the resentment," he said honestly. "Humans are new to the galaxy. We are poor, backward, still learning, and now we have this advantage that seems to come out of nowhere. It does not feel fair." He paused, letting that acknowledgement settle. "But here is what you need to understand. Every species has advantages. The Thorians have natural armor. The Viscari have incredible vision. The Quintari have 4 arms and tremendous strength. Humans have bilateral coordination. That is just biology. But your advantage is military," someone called out. "It makes you better soldiers, does it?" Ryan pulled up galactic military statistics. "Look at this data. In ship-to-ship combat, humans have no advantage. In long-range artillery, we are average. In strategic planning, we are still learning from species with centuries more experience. Humans are good at one specific thing: close-quarters combat where dual-wielding matters." He changed the display to show casualty rates. "And you know what? Humans die just as easily as everyone else. Our armor is not better. Our weapons are not superior. We can just use 2 of them at once. That gives us an edge in specific situations, not overall dominance." The room was quiet as representatives processed that information. Ryan pressed his point. The galaxy faces real threats. The Krell are not the only hostile power out there. There are pirates, raiders, rogue states, and dangers we have not even discovered yet. Human dual-wielding is not a threat to peaceful species. It is an asset for mutual defense. The debate continued for months, but gradually the opposition faded. Too many lives had been saved by human dual-wielders in combat situations. Too many colonies protected. Too many threats neutralized. Results spoke louder than politics. 3 years after that first demonstration at the Academy, Ryan returned to Havros 7 as an instructor. The facilities had expanded dramatically. Human cadets trained alongside alien soldiers, sharing techniques and learning from each other. He found Instructor Halvin in the same demonstration hall where everything began. The Quintari looked older, but he smiled when he saw Ryan. Instructor Cole, Halvin said formally. I hear your school is very successful. Instructor Halvin, Ryan replied with equal formality. I learn from the best. They walked together through the training areas, watching cadets practice with various weapons. Some were dual-wielding, others were not. The mix seemed natural now, each species using their strengths. I was wrong, Halvin said quietly, when I told your class that dual-wielding was impossible. I was teaching based on what I knew, what I had seen. I never imagined a species could do what humans do. You were not wrong, Ryan said. Dual-wielding is impossible for most species. You were right about the biology. You just did not know about human biology specifically. Still, I should have been more open-minded. Halvin stopped walking and turned to face Ryan directly. You proved something important that day. Not just about dual-wielding, but about assumptions. We assumed humans were unremarkable because they were new and poor and technologically behind. We measured them by our standards instead of understanding their differences. Ryan thought about that. Every species brings something unique to the galaxy. Humans bring bilateral coordination, but we also bring something else. What is that? We are really good at learning from others. Earth had no space technology a century ago. Now we build stations and ships using techniques from a dozen different species. We are not the strongest or the smartest or the most advanced, but we adapt. We combine. We take what works and make it better. Ryan gestured at the training hall. That is what dual-wielding represents. Not human superiority, but human adaptability. We took our natural bilateral coordination and turned it into a combat advantage because we needed to contribute something valuable to the galactic community. And you did, Halvin said. You changed warfare, changed politics, changed how species view each other. We just shot two guns at once, Ryan said with a slight smile. The rest was everyone else figuring out what that meant. Later that day, Ryan taught an advanced dual-wielding class. The students were a mix of experienced human soldiers and allied species observers who wanted to understand the techniques, even if they could not perform them. He started the same way he always did, with the basics. Dual-wielding is about parallel processing. Your brain does two things at once. Most species cannot do this effectively, but some of you can learn to approximate it through training and technology. One of the Thorian observers raised a hand. Can non-humans ever truly dual-wield like humans? Probably not, Ryan admitted. But you can learn to work with humans who dual-wield. You can understand the tactics. You can adjust your own fighting style to complement human abilities. That is just as valuable. He demonstrated by having Beth join him in a combat simulation. She dual-wielded while he explained how allied soldiers should position themselves to maximize the advantage. The observers took detailed notes. The key is understanding that a human dual-wielder is not one soldier with two guns, Ryan explained. They are effectively two soldiers in one body. You position them accordingly. You give them roles that require covering multiple angles. You trust them to handle threats you cannot see while you focus on your own sector. The simulation ended successfully. The observers discussed tactics while the human students practiced their techniques. It was a normal day at the school, which somehow made it extraordinary. 3 years ago, dual-wielding was considered impossible. Now it was standard doctrine. As the class dismissed, Ryan stood alone in the training hall for a moment. He thought about that first day when Bricks had mocked humans and challenged their capabilities. He thought about the simple bet that had changed everything. Beth found him there. Thinking deep thoughts? Thinking about how far we have come, Ryan said. Remember when we were just trying to prove we could shoot two targets at once? Now we are teaching half the galaxy how to fight alongside dual-wielders, Beth said. It is kind of crazy. Yeah, Ryan smiled. But it started with something simple. Someone said we could not do it. So we proved we could. No one can dual-wield, Beth said, quoting the old assumption. Ryan checked his weapons, making sure both were ready for the next class. His response was automatic now, proven by 3 years of combat and training and changing the galaxy one demonstration at a time. Bet I can.